Hi, can you hear me? You call me uncle, man. Please give me a minute. Just put my phone on airplane mode. Otherwise, I forget a call. And I expect this to. There is no reason to be nervous. I'll be cool. Just don't worry. One second, I'll just put my thing on. बोले ना हमने क्या बात है? You said you gave some talk to your student, right? So just came back and student from your experience. Nothing to worry. Cool. I'm from Leeds. I'm in Pune. That's what I was saying. Right? If you're in Pune, we should have done it face to face also. Oh, I'm in Hadapsar actually. You look at other Bosari. It's not far. So we can meet next time. Maybe we can do a talk show. If you enjoy this, we'll do something. So if you're in this area, na, Hadapsar, Nagapata, so we can be. I was in Tower 11 few days back when I moved to Phoenix. So our company, they rebagged us, so we moved to Phoenix. Which company you are in? Let me just can you hear me? Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll go right.
Best of luck. Hello.
You're getting what? Clear now? Okay. Got connected to the other one. That's fine. I was trying to connect to the phone as well. So if it happens again, let me know. I'll switch my go live. It usually takes a few seconds. You go live time. Great. We are live. Just give it 1 second. It takes time to cover. So sometimes it says live, but it starts after a few seconds. So welcome, Vaibhav. How are you?
Sometime it says live, but it starts after a few seconds. So welcome, Vaibhav. How are you?
Talk to
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
every
I'm absolutely doing great, man. This is my 61st talk show, and every next talk show, I learn something new, or you know, speak to someone very innovative, very different, very talented. So it's a good thing that is happening, and I think you wanted to do an evening as well, but evening I'm going to a small function. So I may not be able to do it on evening, but I think here we are. So
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah.
and you were telling me that you work. I think you work in Magarpat near Hadapsar area, right? And you stay in Bhosri, right? So I think next time you are in this side, Hadapsar, please do come. I stay here only. We can do a face-to-face talk show or meet for a tea, coffee, lunch.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that will be my pleasure. So yeah, so I think we're speaking first time, so I'll just quickly introduce myself to you and again to my audience who are pretty much bored listening to my introduction. So I'll just make it quick. I've been in this industry for last 25 years. I have been working in colleges. I have done work on assembly programming, microcontroller. Then I started working as a call center agent for a particular product. And then from there I moved to multiple companies, multiple roles, process, MIS team, technology, software development. Recently I have worked as a private cloud, hybrid cloud consultant. So worked along with the architect engineers. So I work on specific products, help in configuration, implementation, even support. And now I'm doing talk shows on weekend. It's becoming fun day by day. So I started this and someone asked me, we have this talent and we have this thing in myself. But many people are not aware. So that's how I started making people aware that let's come online, let's talk, let's be visible, let's be relevant to the industry you are in, and that's how we increase our reach and meet like-minded people, right? That's pretty much what the intent is, and you are one of the like-minded people. So welcome, Vaibhav. Would you like to introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, sure. So before that, I must say you have got a really diverse experience so far. Yeah. So okay, so thank you so much for having me here. Myself, Vaibhav. Originally, I belong to a really small village, Kayamboli, which is located in district Solapur. I'm fourth year student sitting at VIT Vellore. I have good CGPA of 9.5. Then I like to participate in hackathons. As a part of this, I won Smart India Hackathon, Yantra Hackathon, and Innovation Week Hackathon. And I'll be representing my college at IIT Madras in next month at Yuva Mantana Hackathon. I'm also secretary at Student Technical Club, I think at VIT Vellore. I have published my conference paper, which is based on audio emotion recognition, where I use diverse ML models, deep learning models. Then talking about my data experience, I'm a big data enthusiast. I like to automate data, then handle ETL, basically extracting your data, basically getting your data, then transforming your data, and then loading your data into database or data warehouse, or you might say data lake also. Then I like building models. So far, I have built model in different fields, which include cybersecurity, business, and along with healthcare. Then I also like using cloud services into my projects. I like AWS cloud services, the major services that I have used so far, which include your compute services, storage services, and security services. And I also done a couple of certifications, which include AWS cloud certification, then Microsoft Azure Power Platform App Maker, then Google Data Analysis certification. Then I majorly work at backend, dealing with your databases, which include MySQL, then MongoDB. I like solving DSA questions. I have solved over 700 LeetCode problems, standing in top 10% globally. And currently, my status is I am intern at Clear in Bangalore. So that's pretty much about me. Thank you.
Wow. So you were telling me that I have a diverse experience, and looking at you, you have a pretty good and diverse and relevant experience yourself, right? You mentioned something about the models that you are building. So that's kind of a very interesting field, because I have been also trying to work on models, and so far not fully successful, because last I tried to download the Python code for transformer latest version, it got stuck into, I think, Rust, that it required.
That's a really interesting part, of model building, because you might be getting stuck at many things, and that's really, one of my favorite part. Getting out of your error or fixing bugs is, I believe, the most important thing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty nice. So you want to talk about any specific model that you have worked on recently, and maybe walk us through step by step as much as you can remember, right?
Sure.
And on a particular model. So I think that will be very eye-opening for many people who have not worked on it, and for me who have partially worked on it, and for someone who wants to start, it will be very exciting. And then we can talk about different things that you have planned to talk about.
So recently, I have built a couple of models in past, but recently the model that I have built is custom sales model. So basically, what I am doing, I'm getting customer sales data. It's basically a e-commerce website where I'll be getting data, and I'll be predicting what would be particular product sale in future. So that will be really helping to optimize inventory or to prevent stockouts. So in this, what the first thing is collecting data. So getting data from database or from various different sources. After getting data, the major thing is cleaning data. Cleaning data involves a lot of things like see whether your data is being correct, genuine, or legitimate. After understanding your data, then visualizing data. So basically, I also do data analysis. Use various different BI tools, which include Tableau, Power BI, basically that really help to get insights out of your data. So after getting the insights, then you will surely understand where your data stands. After transforming data, cleaning data, then you try to build your models. So there are two options. First one is you can use machine learning or either deep learning. So depending on your business requirements and needs, so you'll be choosing particular algorithms. So there are a lot of algorithms you can go for: decision tree, random forest regressor. Then we have CNN, ANN, artificial neural network, and depending on your need. So I usually use artificial neural network. Since this was time series data, I go for I went for LSTM, which is long short-term memory. Yeah. So basically, it remembers the past input or past days trend, and then uncovers the pattern, and that helps you to predict what would be next day's sales or what your customer demands. So that's a really interesting model I have built.
Okay, that's nice. And LSTM and the other models, even Transformer, right? If you have seen the paper, attention is all you need. That's what, GenAI. So that's what Vaswani and team did, right? They put the attention head on top of ANN, and you were able to remember context, and basically extended LSTM to a very new level of generative AI who can now predict the words, right? So it's pretty fascinating. Thanks so much. I mean, this was a very interesting short overview. I'm sure that these few seconds you spoke about would have taken you almost days, right, to completely build it, or maybe weeks, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But that was really a quick summary. You also mentioned about how you visualize data. I think Tableau you used, and there are many platforms. Power BI is there, Tableau is there, I think Snowflake is there. So why did you use Tableau? Was it like easily available, or was there any consideration you might want to mention?
So basically, I majorly use Power BI, not Tableau. I used Tableau in past, but I shifted myself to
Power BI.
Yeah. So basically, Power BI is really popular in India, and talk about foreign countries that they majorly use Tableau, because Tableau charges some subscription, some premium, but Power BI is open source. You can import your data from various data sources. Then along with that, you can carry out transformation. It offers a lot of different features. Then along with that, you can at the same time you visualize, you perform some queries, you get some insights. So there are a lot of features offered by this Power BI compared to Tableau, compared to all other different BI tools. So that's a major reason I use.
Yeah, no, there are different configuration aspect plus ease of use is also there. I think the vendor is also different, right? Power BI mostly, I think it comes from Microsoft family, and Tableau, I think Salesforce, and Snowflake. Snowflake. I think there's different vendor. So there are multiple considerations, right? And I think you mentioned something about data lake also, where you ingested data for your ETL pipeline. I think recently they have used one lake. They have kind of accumulated everything into one and helped integration much more easier. I think that's pretty much for AI. Maybe they are doing it, so that's pretty nice. Yep. Yeah. So you want to talk about how people can get good CGPA and how your journey has been, right? So why don't you share something about that? And if I have something in the middle, I'll interrupt you.
Yeah, sure. So basically, my journey has been really beautiful because having lots of ups and downs. So basically, when I entered into my college, got a dream college. Then first year it was really amazing because it was like introduction to all of my friends. Then getting to know my faculties, then reaching out to them, connecting with my seniors. So along with that, then in second year my highly focus shifted on to DSA. So basically, we all know, right? DSA is really, really important when you think of placements, think of internship. Then getting some hands-on major tech stacks, so which include my big data, even web dev. A lot of people go for crypto, even in different fields. So getting to know about crypto and this different fields is really important because when you explore all of this stuff, you know where you start, which suits you. Then you go for that. Then learning about different certifications.
Yeah, so we'll speak about certification. So you said you started with DSA, right? So any specific algorithm that was your favorite, or anything you want to talk about? Few algorithms in DSA. I think there are quite a few, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of many. So basically, I like the recursion because that really stops you coding multiple times. You just code for a single function and that does your work. You don't need to worry about different edge cases. So,
yeah, no, recursion is good. It calls itself. So it's very pretty complicated to write a good recursion function. In my college days, I've always initially struggled a lot on that. Because you have to really think about future, right? And using stack with recursion is kind of maybe I would say a lot of compulsory, not mandatory, but it's very easy, right? Because they both go very hand in hand, right? Function calling itself and the stack popping out or popping in. So that's pretty nice that I remember. Okay. Yeah. Then I think you were talking about what next?
Certifications, yeah.
Certifications.
So certifications are really important because they give you industry knowledge of what's exactly going in industry. So then you decide your path, what you will be learning else, apart from your academics. Then you also need to have some of the people might go for a master's. For that, you need to publish some papers, get some experience about conferences, some journals. For that reason, I have even published one of my paper, which is audio emotion recognition. So basically, building some AI models using my data knowledge to predict emotions out of audio, or even predicting different, getting some insights out of audio, like what's age of the person, what's gender of the person. So yeah, that's all about my third year. And fourth year, I got internship, and right now I'm in Bangalore doing my great internship. So yeah, that was all about my journey. I did.
Great. That's pretty exciting. So you mentioned about something, the paper that you published, right, about the emotion and able to capture. So you want to talk something about that? How are you able to exactly capture? So for example, we are both talking, right? So what your algorithm will do, or what is the steps in your paper that you have outlined?
So the model that I used is RNN. That's a really popular algorithm, recurrent neural network, that basically extracts various different features out of your audio. That includes your pitch, your loudness, your what's your amplitude. So depending on how you are speaking, in what tone you are speaking, so it captures the emotions and then predicts top three, based on the probability, what could be the emotion out of your audio. So that's how it in brief, that's how it works. But the good part is, like, I'm extending this emotion recognition to different field, which includes text, EEG, and audio, video. So basically, based on the video, text, and the image, it basically predicts what is emotion of that particular person. Let's say you are talking to me, you are talking with me, your image is being captured, your video is being monitored. So all that different stuff is being taken into consideration, and depending on that, highly accurate emotion is being predicted. So that's how it's all about. Like, I'm working on it right now.
So what about the sample data?
So I collected it from Kaggle, from a lot of different genuine websites where users or big giants has uploaded their genuine data about their let's say customers or about their clients. They have predicted, they've given label to that. We'll be using some testing data and training that data to our model, and depending on that, we'll be predicting our emotions or predicting emotions out of that given input.
Okay. So basically, you use data which was already there, then you trained your model using that data, right?
Yeah.
And then it kind of helped in predicting. That's pretty good. So, because I was speaking to another guest, I think she did similar thing, with OpenCV. So, did you or were you able to monitor the exact hardware, usage in terms of compute? Because you mentioned that you are also interested in the cloud compute and other activities, right? So were you able to exactly see how much compute it is taking, or what is the large scale scaling out implications? Were you able to do that at that time, or maybe not, right? But I was just curious.
So basically, if you know, there's like Google Colab, which basically uses TensorFlow, which offers TensorFlow. So you can really monitor like how what's the computation going when your data is being processed. So that really gives overview now what amount of hardware is being used, what amount of RAM is being used. That needs to be really optimized, right? You can't really use whatever resources are available. You need to consider about using that resources efficiently rather than exploiting that. So yeah,
correct. Yeah, that's very important. And I think recently I've heard some of the vendors, like I think one of the chip manufacturers, they have made their Blackwell chip, a smaller AI processing box, right, which is very tiny for edge devices. So you could right now, if that's available, I think that's very expensive right now, but that's where technology, right? When it launches, it's very expensive. So those devices you can use for edge compute, and that can help in processing such kind of intensive algorithm, which currently requires a lot of GPU or tensor units. But now with edge devices, you should be able to run that even locally at our desk someday. So that's pretty interesting how technology is going, right? So the path it takes sometimes, it's very different, but it's very useful, because for AI, if it has taken a lot of time, and still it takes a lot of compute to be able to process and give you that output, right? Yeah, because for example, go ahead.
Even Nvidia, like they are manufacturing good chips, that are supporting your computations, which are used in deep learning. That's artificial neural overall, which basically mimics your brain pattern that really requires huge computations. Even they are doing great contribution in this field.
Great, good man. That was pretty nice. Anything you want to add before we wind up?
So I would talk about getting hands on cloud, cause that's really important, because nowadays every organization is trying to shift on cloud, right? Because no one wants their resources to be offline. That's really risky in case of disaster, even in different situations, because there are different cloud providers, AWS, Microsoft, and lot many. So having cloud knowledge is really important. So everyone should know like little bit of how that works and how everything goes. Yeah.
No, that's very useful. What you mentioned, being able to understand how the things are working in the cloud, right? Right from the infrastructure level to application, and I think you have worked on MongoDB and other databases as well, right? So how these help individual or organization to be able to provide highly available systems, throughout, right? Because you mentioned something about disaster recovery. It's very dangerous. If you have a edge device running on a data center which has a problem, then your entire operations could go down, right? So those things are very important. So any specific certification that you remember that you have done recently, and want to talk about that? How useful that was for your learning journey.
So I would like to talk about Microsoft Power Platform App Maker, where basically they gives you, you can automate your entire process. Right now a lot of organizations are automating their processes, reducing their workloads. Along with that, I learned about Tableau, that Power BI, that was part of the Microsoft certification. Along with that, low code apps. So instead of giving like entire month to make your app, just make app within 2 to 3 days. That's what is really important when you work in team. You don't want entire month to be required to make a specific app, a small app within your team. So yeah, there are a lot of features that were offered by this certification, and that I'm still using in my daily life and in my work. So yeah, that's
really. The speed is very important. So few points that you mentioned, I just wanted to emphasize that whenever you develop something, right, even in the agile process, many organizations are following it, right, the 2-week pattern. The idea is that whenever there is a specific requirement or a user story, right, we need to make sure that that is completed end to end and quickly, so that whoever is the consumer, if I am the consumer, right, if I want to see my feature being live, I want to see it in action, right? I just don't want to wait like 3 months for something to be there, and after that, I may change my mind. The business may change. So many things can happen, right? I know we should have a long vision, but sometimes you need to have incremental feature updates so that the systems can go on, right? And that's how things improve. You cannot put a big ship and just roll it out, right? You have to put smaller units so that you can see and maneuver as the tide turns in the technology and in the business world, right? Because things keep always changing. So you mentioned about 2 days time, so that's important, right? Let's develop it quickly, and I think now we have a lot of tools that help you in various aspect of development, creativity, ideating, brainstorming. So use that, whatever it takes, right? Just get that done end to end, because once we get it done, after that, so many new things you discover, right? uh, you know uh, for example, if you're using a Kubernetes pod, for example, and you need to know about what is persistent storage, right, where you're going to store or persist your data, right? What if this goes down, you know? So where would your next pod would be? What would be the geo availability? Who is requesting your data, right? If it is from a different country, and if there are availability zone in that country for that cloud provider you're working on, why not serve that data, replicate it, and make it available locally, right? So it's much faster, because latency becomes a bigger problem, right, when you're developing high availability cloud system. And for data, it still may be okay to wait a few seconds, but when it comes about when you talk about video, like we are doing right now, or audio, right, streaming, every millisecond is important. So you can't afford to miss any important bit of information, and just move along. It's simply not acceptable right now, right? With technology, that is giving you that option, right? So if for example, you are in Bosri right now, and if I am in Hadamsar, if there was a server near to me, I would rather connect to it and get lower latency, and that can jointly work on a big pipe connecting to whatever social platform we are streaming to, right? That helps, right? So smaller things like that. I know this is a very small example I took, but when you talk about different countries, it makes a lot of difference, right? Yeah, and the cost factor, I just wanted to add, when you're talking about cloud providers, the cost does make a lot of difference, because you need to make sure different components are priced differently, right? Some is priced as per compute, some is as per configuration. So calculating the cost. Otherwise, if it goes out of hand, then you're gonna have a lot of problem, right?
Even you might be bankrupt, probably.
Yeah, can go bankrupt. A lot of things. I want to speculate it, but yeah, that's even possible. Correct. You have to be careful. That's the whole idea. Right? If you have been assigned a project, don't just look at it from the 4 lines of code that you're gonna add, or the few clicks that you're gonna do. Look at about impact end to end. Always. I tell this to anyone who seeks advice or wants to connect. Make sure whenever you have given a task, look at the bigger picture, right? Because there will be a bigger solution overall. See where you stand in that picture. It could be this corner, and see what impact you're making affects the entire flow, right? Because if you're not gonna do that, right, then you will always gonna miss out on things, correct? You may be able to achieve a particular small objective, but you're gonna miss out on a bigger goal. So we always focus on the end to end flow, or the 360-degree coverage, making sure everything is done. You also mentioned something about automation as well, right? You like automating things in ETL. Any experience you have in that? Because I remember from my early days, automation has been very key aspect of every part of work I have done. And people who don't automate, I simply don't get along with them very easily, unless there is a valid reason, right? So, business process automation or trying to streamline work is very important. So, anything you want to add to that bit?
Yeah, like Apache Kafka, Apache Spark, and Apache Airflow. These three tools have been really, really helpful for me, because I remember a lot of automations I did. One of the great automation was basically getting data from let's suppose there's a big campus. There's a hospital, medical stores. You don't know exactly where which medicine is available in what quantity. So what I did, there was monitors and all around in medical stores, getting that data at particular point using Apache Kafka, which has producer and consumer, getting that data into producer and then shifting that to consumer, which is then being loaded at S3, which is like AWS S3 big data storage. After loading, then using Apache Spark for querying, and then using BI tools onto that as a part of data analysis. So what was that? This entire workflow was automated using Airflow. So whenever there is changes at, let's say some customer takes medicine from medical store, and then that quantity is being reduced, right? So after getting that data, this is being shifted at your storage. Then you do analysis and then visualize in various different charts, statistics, in different plots. So you can get a real time insights, like when you need to order what medicine you need. You don't make sure you end up having that quantity which is not being sold, or you don't get stock outs. So yeah, that was like one of the good automation I did in past.
Yeah, that's nice. Apache, Kafka, Zookeeper, right? All those technology, they're pretty important. Initially we had different MSMQ and other technology as well. And before that, when there was an event, either you have to subscribe to that event, or there is a push mechanism, or there is a pull. Sometimes you have webhooks, right? So these things are also available. But using a queue kind of system always helps, because when the producer produces a particular event, right, it just puts it on the queue, right, and the subscriber can consume it the way the subscriber wants, right, and update status, which now a different producer can produce or consume it. And these things can go out in a very big environment without any bottlenecks, right? That's what we're trying to avoid, because with monolithic systems, right, that was the biggest problem. you know Having bottlenecks in certain area, but if they're designed well, that was actually adding to it their advantages. I've recently seen that some application where they had different containers and nodes available, they were talking to each other, were creating a lot of unnecessary.
That's probably reason why monolithic architecture is being replaced by microservice architecture, right? You're like small things all around, and then you divide those stuff into those things, and then you do focus specific on that thing that is being contributed to entire this project. So yeah, microservice architecture is being used in a lot of companies and being replaced by, it's replacing monolithic architecture, as you mentioned.
Correct. It is definitely replacing it, but just wanted to add a few things on that. Based on what I've seen and heard, is it's good to replace it so that you can have better control. You don't have to worry about specific technology, right? One microservice can be Java, other can be Go. You can have something running on Docker, and within that many other things, right? So that definitely gives you that advantage, but you need to also make sure you look at the end-to-end picture. Recently, if I've seen some of my guests talk about it or discuss that, if they have different microservices, right? Now, if that can be made into a single microservice, for example, because if there's only two microservices, for example, if we both are only talking, for example, and there is no one either listening right now, or maybe they listen to it later. As I said, why don't you come over to my house, for example? That definitely saves time, right? We don't have to use internet. We don't have to use unnecessary back and forth in different applications. I'm using my phone, then a streaming service is going there. If we just have to talk to each other, we could do that. Similarly, if there are two microservices which are just designed to talk to each other, for example, right? And there are like 15 different microservices doing similar sort of things, right? uh, Maybe you need to also think about merging them in future, because if they are just talking in a sequential manner, for example, you're adding latency, right, at every bit.
Exactly.
You are doing that, maybe either intentionally or inadvertently, but it's unnecessary adding few milliseconds at every stage, because it cannot be zero, right? It's not a superconductor or a super connectivity, right? There will be some latency. So always think about that as well, mainly when you're scaling up things. You can't have a bigger bottleneck trying to create it in a much larger level, with various microservices, which were designed just to solve one small thing, which could have been just one small microservice or a one big microservice. I mean, there are a lot of consideration. It's not as easy as I said it in 2 seconds, but those considerations are important, right? Because if you don't do those considerations, you might develop something now, meet the customer requirement, right? It may work for the next few months without any issue. You are a superstar, right? And then the problem happens when the scaling comes in, right? You see that the latency is causing unnecessary bottlenecks. That is one thing you need to solve. The bigger problem is cost also, right? If, for example, those two microservices are in different clouds. One is the developer one loved AWS, so he developed on everything on AWS, right? Use S3 and EC2, right? AMI, and created the image. Developer two, he loved Microsoft, so Azure, Data Lake, One Lake, whatever. Developer three, he loved GCP, so Google, Vertex AI, chatbots, and Community, whatever, right? So uh, we need to look at a bigger scale as well in future, because latency is going to play a vital role when things get very complicated, and troubleshooting something on the cloud becomes a bigger challenge. It's not easy. The application is offline. I remember, I mean, that's a very long story. I think almost 2.5 decades back, when there was two servers, and there were a lot of issue connecting. One was the web server. It was Apache, PHP web server, and then I had this MySQL with the MyAsm database, right, on Linux. Now, when these two were talking, they were in the same data center, but the latency was there, which was getting unnecessary, affecting my entire application that I had developed back then, right? That time, those two servers were very next to each other, so I just used a back-to-back cable, a cross cable, because that time servers didn't had this auto negotiate thing, so I used a crimping tool, created a cross cable, joined them back to back, and the web server used that that IP and connect it directly to the database and solve that problem. I mean, that was a very small fix, but that massively changed the entire application breathing space, because it was getting so slow with a lot of people using it. Right, it was a massive hit in the organization I developed. It was local internet, but it was getting slow. But with this arrangement, it fixed a lot of things, right? So similarly, when it comes about microservices, if two microservices are continuously talking, and you have a strategy in place where you can save a bit of latency, making sure everything else is unaffected, right? You can't just merge services and say, okay, everything else goes for a toss. That's not the intent. The intent is making sure everything stays intact and you are adding value to the entire design, not reducing value, right? Because you could have three developers using three cloud technologies, and that's the three companies you hired, merged with, and that's how you work, which is fair enough, right? But you need to have all those consideration at a very higher level. Make sure there is least amount of impact, and you develop a better system for the future, right? It has to be scalable. I mean, would you agree or not? I mean, yeah, right. Yep, nice, man. Okay, anything else you wanted to add?
I mean, that's it. And the hackathons and all, right? Because solving some real world problems, hackathon gives you opportunity to participate, to compete with all aspirants all around, developers, enthusiasts, and the standing top of that really boosts your confidence, that tells you where you stand. And then I still remember winning that Smart India hackathon, which is a nationwide hackathon. We had our finale at Delhi, so all teams around entire nation has gathered there, and then we competed for single problem statement. We basically solved cyber security problem where we were dealing with some threats, some malicious softwares, how to protect secure our system, protect our organizations. So yeah, participating in a hackathon is really important, because that really not only gives you technical skills, but also tells you how collaboration is done, what's teamwork, how a deadline is being managed, and then a lot of things. So
yeah. No, I spoke to a few of the teams who did, I think, Smart India hackathon as well. And they were talking about each team member, what role they are playing, right? Somebody is the architect, somebody is doing database, somebody is arranging this. So that's a very nice way of understanding how the real world would be, right? And you learn a lot, not only from each other, but when you're participating, you judge yourself across the team globally, across whoever participates, right? So that's also is very important. Nice, man. So what was the topic about cybersecurity? How did you actually fix it?
So basically, our problem statement was building ML model for securing our system. So basically, we worked on routers, we worked on different devices, network devices, switches. Then there are bridges and all. So basically, we were dealing with the different, let's suppose any malicious IP address or domain name is being accessed, or they're accessing our services. How do we, block those? How we secure our systems? So we designed different ML models, different deep learning models. Then we used different softwares, different tools and technologies. So it's been like 2 years since we won that hackathon in 2023. So that was really a good experience for me.
Nice. I'm glad to know that. It's very nice. Good, man. So thank you so much. This was very, I think, helpful and useful for everyone who participated live or who gonna watch about it in future. We'll let know. Thank you so much. Anything apart from the topic that you want to share, your hobbies and what you do? I think you mentioned something about trekking. So would you like to just mention what you do in your spare time?
In spare time, I like listening songs, and apart from that, I really like traveling. I didn't travel so far out of country or abroad, but I traveled so far in India, different places, in North India, even in South India. So
okay, so you love traveling.
Yeah.
Good, nice. nice. Very, very nice hobby you have. Good, man. So thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure hosting you on the call. I think it was very useful for everyone who joined in. So we'll just close the stream.
Yeah.
All right. Let me close
Thank you.
it. Thank you.